Hey, Alicia, Jenny, Millie, Diane, Ava, Heather, Julia. Good to see some familiar faces, lots of new faces.
Okay.
So, first, just going to ask that everyone can mute themselves just in case you have some funky background, something or other going on. And we'll just give everyone a little bit more time to come into the room. So let us know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to hear where you're at in the world. I know it's early morning for Martine and it's end of work day for me. So would love to hear where you guys are tuning in. Julia says Miami, Florida. I bet it's very hot there right now. Kansas City, Houston, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, maybe hotter in Phoenix than Miami. Georgia, lots of US girlies.
hmm There might be just me from this side of the world
Yeah.
because it's early for some people.
Yeah, that makes sense. Iowa, Cedar, Utah. Okay, you guys. So keep popping in the chat where you're from. This is going to be sent to you guys in 24 hours. So you can take notes if you want to, but don't feel like you need to. I really just want you guys
Mm.
to relax and enjoy. One UK girly, Chevy says.
Wow, Chevy, it's like I know it's super late there, so like
We appreciate you.
yeah, that's amazing.
Midnight. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's midnight in the UK.
I'm
Yeah.
feeling your love. Thank you for being here live. It's so much more fun coming to these live. California, a couple California girlies.
So it's like 4 in California, right? It's the same
Yeah,
time
because
as you.
I'm in the
Okay.
same time zone. I'm a Pacific Standard.
Yeah.
It's 4 o'clock here. Kind of the best time I have noticed as far as like getting the most amount of time zones at one time is like end of my
I
workday.
find that to be true too. Yeah,
Yeah.
same with my work.
Okay. All right, everyone. Well, as people continue to come in, I'll let them in, but we'll go ahead and get started because we have a lot to cover in an hour.
Yes.
So, first of all, thank you so much, Martine, for having me here and letting me share all of this with your audience. I really appreciate it.
Yes, yes. I just want to like shout out to Rachel because we've known each other for I think about like 3 years now,
Mhm.
and we've had our individual journeys. I was with her when she was birthing this baby that is her now like teenage daughter of a business. So it's been so profoundly nourishing, Ray, to witness you grow your business and change so many women's lives. So it's my honor to like have you over here for the women who are here, who are all curious, who are all in places I feel where they can really benefit from, yeah, this knowledge, this healing knowledge that is not actually new,
Mhm.
but we're all meant to like remember
Mhm.
as women. So thank you so much for being here to share with us. Yes.
Yes, it's my pleasure. All right, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Let me know that you can
Yes.
see it, and we're going to dive right in. So, today we're talking about stress, which I would argue is the most important thing to talk about because I have worked with over 300 women at this point in my career, which is so crazy to say, dealing with things all over the board: infertility, cysts, PCOS, endometriosis, acne, hair loss, all the things. And I would say that the thing that's in common is the root of all of this is from stress. And this is really where it originated from for every single woman that I work with. And I think it's a lot of the reason why is because we're living at a time that we're really not used to operating under. We have businesses, we have kids, we're doing all the things, we're spinning all the plates. And how do we manage all of this and still take care of our feminine body? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to have a little smorgasbord of really tangible tips that you can walk away from this class being like, okay, I learned a lot of things that I can implement tomorrow, like tonight, today, whatever time of the day it is for you, and really shift your life. And also some of the more emotional, esoteric concepts as well, that you can take with you. So I'd love to hear in the chat what kind of stress you guys are moving through, what you're hoping to get from today's masterclass, and just share a little bit about yourself so I can get to know you. as I continue diving in here. And if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I'll get to them when I get to them. It might be at the end, it might be during. We'll see what happens naturally. But I just want to make sure you guys remember your questions, because if you are anything like me, you won't remember till the end. So just put them in when you're thinking about it, and I will get to them. So today we're really diving into stress and burnout in particular, which is something that, like I said, I am particularly passionate about in my business because it is the root of a lot of imbalances that I see with my clients. So chronic and acute stress both promote adrenal hyperactivity, inflammation, hormone imbalance, sleep disturbance, emotional upheaval, and so much more. I mean, I think I just listed like every single issue that women deal with. So either stopping the source of excessive stress or taking measures to deflect and mitigate the effects of stress are critical. So there's lots of things we can do to help with stress, but I always try and articulate to my clients that at the end of the day, the analogy that makes the most sense is if your bathtub is filling up with water and there's water spilling over the sides onto the bathroom floor, are you going to sit there and scoop water up with a cup, or are you going to turn the water off? You're going to turn the water off, right? And that's really the most important part about stress here is it's not just about these band-aid fixes, even though absolutely I'm going to be giving you guys tools to shift the way that your body's metabolizing stress. But more than anything, it's important to work on your nervous system's capacity to hold whatever your stress is coming from and to regulate where it's coming from. So can we implement more boundaries? Can we shift the way that we're relating to our life? Can we bring in more joy? These are all topics that we're going to be talking about, but I think that this is something that's very overlooked in the hormone space and really in the health space in general. Is we just want those quick fixes. But at the end of the day, if you're just sitting there scooping water out with a cup and the water is still filling in the bathtub, you're not going to get very far. So how do we heal from burnout? There's a few different things, and we're going to be diving into each of these today. So the first is limiting toxin exposure, both environmental as well as emotional. There's lots of different toxins that we're exposed to on this planet. The second is regulating circadian rhythm. When Martina and I just got on our calls, she was like, I wake up with the sun. The great example of someone who regulates her circadian rhythm. Number three, balancing blood sugar. So making sure that your blood sugar is regulated. That's a simple thing you can do to mitigate your stress response. Number four is decrease inflammation by optimizing digestion. Number five, tending to your kidney jing. So it would not be a Restoring Youth Masterclass if we did not talk about Chinese medicine. So we'll be talking about that today as well. Our kidney jing is like our feminine juiciness. That's like the part of us that keeps us like juicy, even when we are aging, even when society tells us, oh, it's normal to be losing hair and feel like crap at this exact age. And there's women who don't feel that way because they're tending to their kidney jing and they're tending to their yin and their feminine energy. And number six here is creating a frame for your feminine to flourish, which is a lot of what Martine teaches in her classes and in her teachings. So first thing here, limiting toxin exposure. So considering the environmental toxins that you're exposing yourself to every single day in controlled environments, I feel like this is a conversation that we are having a lot. I think it's also a conversation that sometimes is attached to consumerism, ironically, selling more products because, hey, the product you're using is toxic. And yes, I do think it's an important conversation to have. But like I said, I think that arguably the more important conversation to have is where are you exposed to emotional toxins? So where are you exposed to toxic relationships? Where are you exposed to toxic patterns, toxic beliefs that maybe you picked up in childhood and have been carrying around? How do you speak to yourself in your head? How do you treat yourself? An easy way to know how you feel about yourself and how you treat yourself is looking at your habits. So like, it's like when we're early dating, and your mom or your dad or whatever is like, look at how he treats you, not by what he says. It's the same thing for your relationship with your body. So looking at your daily habits is really going to show you how you feel about yourself and what you believe that you are worthy of and what you believe to be in resonance with you. I just want to make sure everyone has their microphones turned off. I've tried to go through and mute everyone, but I think there's someone that's giving a little bit of feedback. Okay. So what exposure points do you have? Obviously, there's also environmental and physical, some obvious places to look. I think this conversation is very common now. Candles, cleaners, skincare products, makeup, perfume. We expose ourselves to so many chemicals every day. This is a nuanced conversation though. And I want you to not go away from this with like fear. I want you to actually realize your body is so resilient and so strong. I completely believe in 80-20. And if like 20% of the products you're using is not perfect, that's okay. We're not going to get our panties in a bind. We just want to have like 80% be the best that we can do, not only for our toxic load, but also as like a love letter to ourselves, because you're worth making that swap in your life for something that is easier on your body. And this doesn't have to be a very economic thing. You literally can make your own cleaning products very easily, very affordably. So a lot of the times this actually involves saving money. I always like to clear that up because it sounds expensive, but it does not have to be. The second thing here is decreasing inflammation in your body. So inflammation is considered an energy leak from your kidneys. Toxins in food and gut irritants increase overall inflammation of the body, which contributes to the overall perceived stress of the body. So you could be the most chill girly pop in the world, just like starfishing on your bed all day, not a care in the world. But if you're exposed to stressors in the form of biological stressors, such as the food that you're eating, the environment that you're in, maybe like someone's like smoking in your environment, or, you know, we have like wildfires this time of the year. I know that that's something that causes stress on my body when it's wildfire season. So a lot of the times we might sit here and be like, oh, I'm not stressed, but our body could be perceiving stress from all of these things that I've already mentioned, from toxic relationships, from inflammation in the body, from environmental stressors like candles and seed oils and all these things in our environment. So, decreasing overall inflammation and healing our gut microbiome is also going to be really contributing to decreasing the stress in your body. So, some really common sources of inflammation, any soy products at all, they've just been so genetically modified that they're very irritating, very much increase inflammation within the body. Gluten, seed oils, processed dairy, refined sugar, processed foods. Basically, the only country that I know of that you could have gluten in and like be totally fine is Italy. And that's just because they have guarded their crops with their lives. And we have not done the same thing here in the United States. I know there's a lot of US girlies here and UK as well. The gluten there is not any better. The next step here is circadian rhythm. I already mentioned Martine is a circadian rhythm queen. Making sure that you rise with the sun and watch the sunset in the evening. So as best you can, just living according to nature, living according to our biology. This is not complicated stuff. Unfortunately, we have to put in effort to live the way that we were created to in our world today. So simply living in accordance with the sun. And if you have a job like I do that is working from your laptop, there's lots of things you can do to like biohack your way to circadian rhythm, including blue light blockers for your eyes. If you're watching a show in the evening or if you're on your laptop, there's an app called f.lux. Let me put it in the chat so you guys can look it up. It's a free app. You can download it on your laptop, and I have it on my laptop. I have for years, and it actually you like sync it up with your coordinates, so wherever your location is in the world, and it actually like regulates the light on your screen. So right now it's 4 p.m. here, so it's not like bright blue like it is in the morning. It's kind of like a little bit of an amber. And then this evening, if I opened up my laptop for some reason, it would be red. So it regulates the light for you, so you're not exposed to that red light. You could also do the same thing with your phone. There's ways to switch it over to red so that you're not looking at blue light when the sun goes down in particular. So blue light interferes with melatonin production, circadian rhythm. It also increases ghrelin, which is actually our hunger hormone. So if you find that you're like sitting at your laptop all day working and you're like literally just hungry and having the munchies all day, and you're like, I don't really think I'm hungry, I think this is just a habit, this is what that is. A lot of people come to me being like, I don't know why this is happening. And it's literally just a chemical production that happens when you are exposed to blue light continuously throughout the day. So the small integration of having blue light in our little hands when we're like in the grocery store checkout line and when we are like going to sleep and we're watching a show has single-handedly completely shifted hormones, female hormones in particular, because we are a lot more sensitive than guys are. So this one thing can really make a huge difference if you have more awareness around your blue light exposure and are also just aware that there's a lot of things you can do to support your body in the blue light exposure as well. Okay, the next is resetting the circadian. So I think that I already went through all these. Let's make sure. Sometimes I just go off. And That's what I did this time. Okay, going to sleep earlier, going to sleep with the sun, physically exposing yourself to morning sun. Red light can be really, really helpful because it's just so funny because it's exactly the way that God like created it to be. It's just not complicated. I know that we have, turned this into a consumerism show, but at the end of the day, it's like God really just wanted us to go to sleep with candlelight and a fire burning because when we are looking at red light and we're looking at amber light, it produces melatonin within our body. So it's really just getting back to the way that we were created. I have a couple lights in my home, like little lamps that I have red light bulbs in. So when the sun goes down, I just turn the red lights on instead of having the blue light. It's a very simple swap that you can do. I told you guys about F.Lux, blue light blockers, and then limiting or removing stimulants like caffeine, especially if you're sensitive to caffeine. I'm very, very sensitive to caffeine. So my cutoff for caffeine is noon, but you could figure out what your cutoff is. I think it is definitely a bio individual per person. So I know we already mentioned blood sugar balance when we went through the list at the beginning. Blood sugar balance is super, super important when it comes to perceived stress on the body. For example, I struggled with chronic acne for 10 plus years and genuinely tried everything. And I also fully believe, because of proof, that if I had like sugar of any kind, like if I had a cookie or like piece of cake or whatever it was, the next day I would have acne. And it's not because of like the sugar. It wasn't because like I don't really believe in demonizing food groups at all. It's because I wasn't having it in a balanced way. And then my blood sugar would spike. And then the next day I would have symptoms. So something as simple as regulating your blood sugar on the day to day is going to make a huge difference on your skin, on your period, on your hormones, on all of the things within your body, your sleep. That's a big one as well. And I was just telling one of my clients this earlier today, but the small things that you do every day are going to be the things that make the biggest impacts in your health over time. And I know that we all just want like one grandiose thing that's just going to change our lives. But if that was a thing, I wouldn't be here. And well, if also that was a thing, I'd probably be a millionaire. It's not that simple. And it also is that simple at the same time. It's just the small things that you're doing in your day-to-day habits that are going to determine your period, your skin, your overall health, your longevity. Sorry, I just keep hearing some like background noise. I'm trying to see if I can mute the right person here. Okay, here we go. So in many ways, your food choices and also the ways that you put together your food is either hurting or helping your hormones. And I would say, like I said, one of the biggest things is just ensuring that you have balance. So if you were like, Rachel, what are you talking about? What is blood sugar balance? It's very simple. It's literally just making sure that you have a carb with a fat and a protein. So you're not just having an isolated carb, especially if you're having an isolated carb, a lot of the times it will cause your blood sugar to spike. And then that's when you'll have those symptoms. So some little tips to make this really accessible. I really recommend eating a savory breakfast upon rising. So protein rich. Best if you can eat within 30 minutes of waking. And I work with a lot of mamas. I work with a lot of women who own large businesses. And because of those two things, I work with a lot of women who wake up early and they really can't have breakfast like first thing because either maybe they're getting their kids involved in something or out of bed or to school or whatever, or, they're getting their team started, whatever it is. So the easiest way to do this is having like a pre-breakfast. I just told one of my clients this today. So wake up in the morning, have like a bone broth with a scoop of collagen within 30 minutes of waking. And then, an hour later or whatever, having like a full-on breakfast, maybe with your kids or whoever. That can be a really simple way to integrate this within life, especially if you're someone who's listening to me and you're like, okay, like that sounds cool for everyone else, but like you don't get it. I can't do that. Hopefully this makes it a lot easier. So ensuring that all meals contain a protein, carb, and a fat, eating enough fiber can really help with blood sugar balance as well. And keeping blood sugar in a balanced state helps to improve mood swings, balance weight, improve sleep and cravings. I really try and recommend eating every 3 hours, if that's possible for you. I had a question come in about what is my opinion about fasting. I definitely do not recommend it. I realize that fasting is a very broad word though. And like when we're sleeping, we're not eating. So technically we're fasting during that time. But intentional fasting, I don't recommend at all. Obviously, if it's for religious reasons, that is different. But if we're talking about health, which I'm assuming we are, because I am a hormone coach, I don't recommend it at all. It can be very, very taxing and very stressful on the feminine body. And that is not the way that we were created to be. Okay, let's talk about the kidney meridian. This is my absolute favorite meridian to speak about in Chinese medicine because, like I said earlier on this call, it is our juiciness. It is really the way we feel, the way that we're perceived, the glow, the feminine glow. When a woman walks in that room and she has like the je ne sais quoi, I feel like that is like the kidney meridian energy. This is like the energy of that like woman who like turns heads. It's really just the juiciness of being a woman, and that's why I love talking about it so much. Is it's very much can shift the way that you not only see yourself but the way that you are perceived, because it's how we feel in our body. That's what people experience of us is with the energy that we bring into the room and the way we feel in our body. And unfortunately, when my clients get to me, oftentimes they are not feeling good in their body. They're feeling like a stranger in their body. They're feeling like a victim to their body. They're feeling so confused because they're doing all the right things and still not feeling well. So when we shift the kidney, it's so much in our life. So kidney energy, kidney jing is what it's called, is not only what keeps your energy sustained, it's also responsible for aging, sleep, and your juiciness as a woman. Remembering that our kidney is not just speaking about our organ, it's a whole meridian system. So if you're not familiar with Chinese medicine, a meridian is almost like an energetic line going through your body. So, what are some simple things we can do today to shift our kidney jing and reclaim this juiciness? The first is opting for warm foods and beverages over cold. So, if you are one of those girlies who wakes up in the morning and has a smoothie first thing, I'm talking to you. I feel like if we look at a lot of what other people are doing, lots of people are just having cold salads, acai bowls, like smoothies, and these things are going into our gut and it's shocking. Our gut is an internal organ. We forget that we have, these meat suits and we're not machines a lot of the times. And if it's going into your stomach, which is an internal organ that is naturally warm, it's going to have to heat up the food before it can even allocate it to where it needs to go, which is going to literally be pulling from your nutrient and energy stores. So, do you want to be giving your energy to heating up that smoothie bowl, or would you rather be allocating that to your life and to your vitality? So, such a simple thing, switching from iced beverages, iced drinks, iced foods, cold foods to warm and more soothing. Castor oil and heating pad on kidneys. That can be very, very helpful. So castor oil on the front, heating pad on the back. Kidneys are on our back. So if you ever have low back pain, that is from your kidneys. A lot of the times that's just a sign of stress. So when we talk about castor oils, a lot of people recommend doing castor oil packs just on their liver. You could certainly do that. I personally really recommend just doing your whole low abdomen because it's just very detoxing on your low intestines as well. So it's like if you're going to do it, might as well do the whole area. So castor oil packs are really easy. I feel like they feel really scary because I don't know. I think it's the pack word. I think that really throws people off. But castor oil packs are very simple. I highly recommend doing them. I would say 3 to 4 times per week, unless you are pregnant. Do not do them if you are pregnant or you could be pregnant or when you were on your period. But otherwise, 3 to 4 times per week, they're going to help you sleep like a little baby. Also, very, very gently detoxing on your system and your liver in particular, which is going to be beneficial for your kidneys. Heating pad on kidneys, I recommend that to any client who deals with stress, which I think is everyone. So, on stressful days in particular, maybe you've had a long day with your kiddos or a long day at work, whatever it is, having a little heating pad on your low back is going to bring blood flow to your kidney organ, which is going to help decrease the stress within your body and help your body to metabolize it quicker and easier so it doesn't impact you long term. The herbal infusion daily, I didn't write it in here what it is, but I really, really recommend doing herbal infusion every single day. Without knowing exactly what each of you guys is dealing with, I would simply recommend doing a nettle infusion. If you have goji berries as well, I think that's a very, very simple way. And I will put it in here in the chat in case. Sorry, that's in caps. It sounds like I'm yelling at you guys, but I'm not. Nettle tea and goji berries. Infusion. So what you're going to do is just get a jar, any kind, any size of jar, very simple. If you have like, I guess I'm going to show you, my jar is this big. And I do about 3 big spoons of nettle tea, loose leaf nettle tea, and then a small handful of goji berries, and then fill it to the top with boiling water. Let it sit on the counter until it's room temperature, so it's not scalding anymore. And put it in the fridge, and then I filter it out for each cup that I have, and I heat it up before I have the tea. But that is what I have every single day. I recommend it to my clients, especially if you're dealing with any sort of depletion. If you're having those dark circles under your eyes, if you're feeling just exhausted and so burnt out, if you're losing any hair, these are more extreme symptoms of depletion. I have this tea infusion every single day. I'm not actively dealing with any of those symptoms, but it's really just to counteract the effects of stress on my body because of the world we live in. So I highly recommend that to every woman that I work with. Making sure you're drinking enough water is very, very important. So half your body weight in ounces every day. Vitamin C daily and beef liver daily. Those are two of my highest recommended supplements. And you guys, I will follow up with you guys. I'm not just with the replay of this class, but I'll also send you a little like list of, hey, these are like daily integrations that I recommend because I, like I said, want this to be so simple and so life-changing for you. And then I have a little list here in kidney for the kidney meridian in Chinese medicine. Goji berries, rhodiola, schizandra, licorice root, astragalus, and reishi are the most beneficial herbs for your kidney jing. So if you have access to them already, that's excellent. However, if you don't and you're like, should I be utilizing these? I would literally just start with the herbal infusion. And then if you wanted to work together on a one-to-one basis, we could kind of figure out what was perfect for you as far as this little concoction. But I think that just the goji berries and the nettle is an excellent place to start. The funny thing about goji berries, especially in Western culture, and like, I'm not sure what it's like for you, Martina, I'd love to hear, but here we have, it's so weird culturally. We have like goji berries on like smoothie bowls, which is just like absolutely mind blowing, stupid.
Doesn't happen here. No, here it's inside of tea.
Yeah.
So what we do here is we make an infusion. I don't know all the names, okay? But like, if you go to any Chinese medicine, well, first of all, you should all know that the Philippines has the oldest Chinatown ever, right? So, a huge chunk of our diet has been from that lineage. And so what we do here, especially when one is trying to get pregnant or is recovering from pregnancy, is we just eat warm food.
Mhm.
And the goji berries are a part of recovery food from after your menstrual cycle, when you have given birth and the body is needing to be warm. So we put it in tea, we put it in soup, they put it on dim sum. So it's really strange sometimes to see it in an acai bowl
Yeah.
or like that has never been done. So that's a new thing.
Yes, it's very, very strange. And I just think it's really comical. So I'm sure that a lot of the girls on the call are like, yeah, that's all I've ever heard of is having on a smoothie bowl. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. I put it in my bone broth though, and soups and things like that, because that's the way that it's supposed to be consumed. So just keep that in mind, but it adds a really nice like sweetness to the tea, which I really love as well. And I know you guys will love it. But yeah, goji berries are easy to find. They're just probably going to be in some weird like smoothie aisle in the grocery store. So just keep that in mind. So, creating a nourishing frame is essential to tending to your stress as well. So, whenever you're in the spectrum of masculine and feminine energetics, frame is essential to hold you in your yin. Because when I think about masculine and feminine energy, I always try and think of the masculine as being the riverbank and the feminine as being the river. And if you have a river without a riverbank, you have chaos. And chaos is going to cause a lot of stress to your body and your nervous system. So, it's important to have structures that hold you in your day. So, on one extreme, if your whole day is in feminine flow, you will feel so depleted by the chaos of never actually accomplishing anything. I'm sure that you guys are so familiar with this. Like every single woman I've ever met is familiar with this because I think it just feels so good. Like, I will have days where I'm like, I touch something by the sink and I'm like cleaning it up. And then I get distracted and I like touch something else. And then I'll go touch another project. And then by the time I go to sleep, I'm like, okay, I touched everything. I'm exhausted. I did so much today and I accomplished nothing. So that's kind of what I mean. Like if you're in that spot for a long time, it's going to really feel depleting. So just making sure that you have a structure to hold you. On the other hand, if you're constantly pouring yourself out to others, you have no boundaries, you're constantly in overperformance, overgiving, overworking, you're going to have no time for restoration. So a few little things here that hopefully will be helpful. I really recommend time blocking your day/week. It's not for everyone, but if you have a business, if you're a business owner, it can be very, very helpful to have clarity around your tasks for the day. Because same thing, like on days where I don't feel organized as a business owner, sometimes I will touch everything and accomplish nothing and go to sleep feeling exhausted and like I did nothing. So having clarity around your day. One of my tips that I use every single day is I have a master list of everything I need to do, both personal and for business. And then on the day today, I pull three things. Why just three things? I pull three things because then I can ensure that the things I do well. And then I can actually have time for restoration. So if I just looked at that list every day, not only would I be stressed out and probably be critical of myself for not getting enough done, but also I would have no time for joy. And having time for joy is going to make sure that you have that like femininity aspect that is going to bring you so much juiciness in order to go into the next day with excitement instead of going to sleep dreading the next morning. But I also want to say, when it comes to this like concept of having time for yourself, I really want you to consider what are habits and activities that are going to bring you joy. Because a lot of the times we can get so stuck in habits of like just watching TV or like, I don't know, these habits that we're like not really proud of, but just kind of happen. And there's nothing wrong with watching a show, right? I just mean like if you, it's the way that you relate to it, the way you feel about it. So if you feel negatively about it, but you're spending every evening doing that, maybe just changing it up a little bit, maybe asking, what would I like? What is like the future self energy of, or like, I know that that's like a very common term, but really just like the version of yourself that you're like, oh yeah, like that's it. That's what I wish I was doing. How can you integrate that into your day to day so you feel really full when your head hits the pillow on the end of the day? So having masculine structure, but also having like some sort of aspect to your day that feels feminine. And no, feminine is not, being exhausted and watching TV at the end of the day. The feminine is like maybe you love dancing and you haven't danced since you were in high school. Or maybe it's, art. Maybe you used to paint a lot. And now that you have kids, you're like, I don't have time. But maybe it's just that 15 minutes at the end of the day that your kids are asleep. And instead of painting, you are just watching TV because you're like, I'm exhausted. Consider what it would do for your body and for your energy levels to give that 15 minutes to something that actually recharges you and refills you and makes you feel like a feminine human, like a beautiful woman again, instead of just starfishing on the couch. I love all these questions coming in. Oh yeah, Martine says motherhood needs a frame. Homemaking is a frame. Yes. I love that. And hug. I like the word hug instead of to contain. That's really beautiful. So remember that the best way to nourish your yin, your feminine, your juiciness is to allow yourself to be held by frame. And within that frame, to create time for activities that have no outcome. A lot of the times on my client calls, I will ask women what their hobbies are, what their interests are. And a lot of the times women will tell me, oh, I meditate or I do yoga or I lift weights. And I'm always like, no, it's like an outcome related activity. Like that is a workout for your body and it's beautiful. And I'm so glad you're doing that. But that ain't it. We need to be doing things that fill our cup. And a lot of the times that is non-outcome related. So if you think about maybe you have a daughter, or you think about yourself as you were a little girl and you remember like playing dress up for hours with no purpose, like just having fun. And you're like alone in your room, twirling in these little dresses, not for anyone to watch you, not for any outcome, but just for the joy of being there, the joy of what it feels like to have, the little ruffles around your ankles. That's what I'm talking about. So, how can we facilitate that more as adults? Likely we don't even remember the last time we let ourselves go there. So maybe it would be helpful to think about what activities you enjoyed in high school and junior high when you were a child, and how could you start playing around with them now? So some ideas. I wrote down bathing. Bathing, I always say, is like my gateway drug to femininity because you literally are forced to lay in a pool of warm water and just holds you. And it feels so good and nourishing. But something I want to mention, you guys, do not bathe and like listen to a podcast and like write a book at the same time. I'm saying, like, how can you just be alone with your stillness and let that be enough? Drawing and painting, especially if you can draw and paint without judging yourself, which is a exercise. Dancing, writing. I wrote down morning pages. I love morning pages as an exercise. If you have not heard of morning pages, it's from a book called The Artist's Way. And what it is, it's you just wake up in the morning and you write 3 pages of just conscious streaming thought. So even if you're sitting there writing, I don't know what to write, you're writing, and that counts. Why I love it is because it's non-outcome related. And it also allows you to just be present with whatever's coming up for you without judgment. So note here, what did you used to love doing perhaps as a child? So I'd love to hear in the chat, you guys, if you are resonating with this, if you are like, yes, okay, this is what I want to do. Tell me some of your activities that you are going to implement in your day to day to give you like this yin and this juiciness, some of these non-outcome related activities. I'd love to hear what you guys love doing. Twerking, yes. Oh my gosh, I love that, Julia. That's so funny. So good. I wish I could do that. Like my butt just doesn't do the thing. I love to cook as well. Amazing. Playing piano and singing, dancing, listening to music, dancing, painting, running, doing puzzles. Would that count? I feel like that counts. I love tango dance, painting, playing outside. Oh, these are all so good. Yeah, Maria, it's probably time. This is like a sign. Listening to calm music, slow dancing, cooking so much. I feel that way too. I love cooking. Going to the lake. These are all so good. Sunbathing. Sunbathing is one of my favorite feminine activities as well. I feel like you're just literally sitting there, like receiving the sun. Feels so good. Getting my hair done, being in nature, sunshine. Beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. Sewing. I love having an active chat. You guys are amazing. Gratitude walks. I go for a walk in my mind. I start mentioning all the things I'm grateful for. That's beautiful. Needle painting. I'm not sure what that is. Might have to look up needle painting. These are beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Lots of dance, lots of dancers in here. Coloring books, baking for fun, reading a good book, cross stitching, crochet, pottery. Ooh, I love that, Martine. I went to a pottery class last year. I just had this like wild itch. I'm like, I just want to form something with my hands. It was the best thing ever. I love anything that makes me feel like a little kid. Frolicking in cute lingerie. That's a good one. Frolicking, yes. Frolicking is a way of life. These are all so good. Okay. Did a little summary here, you guys. Physical steps to healing, getting good rest, sunlight, cyclical movement. So if you guys are like, what cyclical movement? I have a free masterclass about this. So DM me and I'll send it to you. It's basically just moving in accordance with your cycle. Deep breathing, rest, time blocking your day with moments of stillness, making time for play, which is this beautiful list that we just created. Limiting toxin exposure, both emotional and physical, warming foods and beverages, mineral replenishment, which you will get from the tea infusion, and then low inflammatory foods. So I wrote a little list here of emotional perpetuations of burnout. We won't have enough time to go over all of these, but I do want to make sure that I mention them. So inner masculine frame, we need to have that frame like Martine's shares in the chat as well as within her teachings in order to feel held so that we don't get burnt out and we are not in chaos of our feminine. Number 2, we need to have boundaries. We need to have clear no's, clear yeses, and figure out what those are. Energy leaks. So we have to make sure that we're not giving our energy to things that are taking from our life force. We want to make sure that most of what we're doing is a clear energy exchange. Emotional toxins. So any sort of emotional leakage that we're having. So that could be, like I said, a toxic relationship. Maybe it's with a partner or a family member or a friend, making sure that all of our relationships are within integrity. Creating inner feminine spaciousness. So making sure that you're facilitating space for your inner little child, your inner little girl who wants to play and have fun and shine and, not for anyone else other than herself. And the last one is not living in authenticity. So being in a comparison trap of feeling like you need to behave a certain way, act a certain way, be a certain person, not being in touch with who you are and the way that God created you to be individually. Truly is not a one size fits all when it comes to authenticity. We all are completely different. So making sure that you're in tune with what makes you you, and that you're amplifying it rather than taking away from it. So the inner masculine is the relationship with the structure in our lives. So discipline, structure. What does discipline even mean to you? I think that's a really good place to start. A lot of the times clients will come to me feeling like discipline is a bad word, like it's scary, or, discipline means I have no fun, or just feeling really repulsed by that word in general. But at the end of the day, discipline is the path to freedom. And we need to make sure that we remediate our relationship with the masculine with discipline in order to have the heldness that is required in order for us to be living life on purpose. And then we have our inner feminine as well. Like we already talked about, some non-outcome related activities are really going to help your feminine come out and shine. And making space for them on your calendar as if it's a business meeting will make a huge difference in your day to day. And if this is like a brand new concept for you, I just encourage you to start really slow. So maybe as you look at the week ahead, thinking about one or two activities that you can do and scheduling them on the calendar as if they are a business meeting. So, when we talk about lack of boundaries, it's really important to have a give and take balance to maintain clean energy in your business, in your relationships, and in your life. If one of these parts of your life is feeling sticky, I would really consider looking at where your boundaries are perhaps being crossed. In your business, maybe it means raising your rates. Maybe it means changing your business structure to facilitate more time for yourself, more time freedom. That was definitely something I went through in my business. I was giving so much time away. And I restructured my business so that I could hold space for more people when I decided to work instead of having one-on-one calls. So there's ways you can do this with all aspects of life to create boundaries that allow for you to feel really held and really safe and good and juicy. So places to consider: exchange for your work, familial relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, and also the relationship you have to yourself. When we talk about boundaries and the relationship with yourself, kind of like we talked about earlier in this call, you're going to be able to see what your relationship is like with boundaries based on how you're taking care of yourself and how you're showing up for yourself. And then the last energetic piece that we're going to talk about today before we wrap up, I like to call it cleaning up your house. So, where is your words out of alignment with your actions? So, energy leaks are the places that take the most from your spirit. So, living out of congruence with your desire. So, where is it that your actions and your words are actually not in alignment? So, for example, if you're a woman that's looking for love, she's looking for her man, but she's still energetically connected to her ex in some way. Maybe his stuff's still at your house and you're like, oh, like I'll deal with that later. Or maybe you still are like talking to him, things like that. When you say you want more money, but how do you hold and organize the money that you have? You say that you want more time, but what do you do with the time that you have? So these are a few just examples. What I want you to consider when you think about your desires right now, what you're pursuing, what some of your goals are, how are you being a steward of that which you've already been given? Because in that way, you can kind of be gaslighting yourself in a way when your actions and your words don't line up. Because you're listening, your body's always listening, and it just isn't going to feel authentic. It's going to feel very draining for you to live out of alignment with that which you desire. I like that, Martine. Martine says a boundary is a paywall access to you, especially for mothers and wives. Andrea said, I needed the idea of boundaries for myself. Thank you. Yes. Yay. I'm so glad this is all landing. Okay, so that is everything for today, you guys. I am going to be inviting you guys all into my signature experience, Vitality. If you aren't following me on Instagram, if you've never heard about Vitality before, I will share all the tea with you guys on this call. So essentially what it is Vitality is my signature experience. I've taken over 100 women through this experience and shifted their lives from infertility to having a baby on the way, from acne to glowing skin. Really, any sort of sign of hormonal imbalance has been shifted in this framework. And this framework was derived actually from all the one-to-one clients I've seen over my years of having my business, because I started realizing that the same thing I was doing for one, I was doing for other, even if the symptoms were very different, because the way that our body heals is very similar to each other. And also, I do want to say there's something that's healing about being in a group. And Vitality is a hybrid experience. So you're getting all the touch of a one-to-one experience, but in a group. So what I mean by that is if you join Vitality, you get a healing blueprint call with me. So what that is it's the exact same assessment form I send to my private clients. It's 9 or 10 pages. It's very long, and it allows me to see from a high level perspective what's going on in your body. So we're seeing the meridians, we're seeing the symptoms, we're seeing what's being expressed, we're seeing some of the emotional imbalances as well. And from there, we hop on a 1 hour call together. And in that 1 hour, we dive into exactly customized support for you. So customized nutrition, supplementation, lifestyle shifts. We dive into some of the more emotional integrations as well. I am a hormone coach, but I'm also a trauma-informed hypnotherapist. So we really do dive into some of the subconscious beliefs that keep you stuck, because each meridian, each physical meridian with our body, such as the kidneys, are related to fear. Each meridian is associated with an emotion, making sure that we're dealing with the emotions as well, especially as women. I feel like that is the piece that if you are like, Rachel, I've done everything, like you don't understand, like I've done all the things and nothing's shifting. A lot of the times that is the piece that is missing. And so that is the piece that I bring into my practice, is this emotional aspect. So I shared some, I think, reviews. Yeah. Some reviews on this page if you guys wanted to read them. I also have them all over my Instagram and on the sales page for Vitality. So lots and lots of information here. But I'm extending a really great discount for you guys for the next 7 days. So I already said this, but who's this for? This is for the woman who feels like she has tried it all and she's still struggling with hormonal imbalance. And for the next 7 days, if you join Vitality with the code feminine, thank you to Martine for having me, you'll receive $700 off. So you guys will get an email with all the details. I think it's scheduled to be sent to you guys at 5. So here in 10 minutes, with the links to join and everything. And I'm fully available if you want to hop on an application to call to ask me any questions about it. Or if you want to send me a DM, I'm happy to answer them there as well. And that is everything I have for you guys. So I'm so excited to serve anyone who this would be beneficial for. And I'm so happy to serve all of you guys on this call. I really hope and pray that you guys had a lot of takeaways that are just going to shift your life and your week and your juiciness and your vitality, because when one woman shifts, we all shift, because we as women are community beings. We get to share what's changed our lives with each other. And I think that's one of the most important, special things. Being a hormone coach is working with women. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I do have some space for questions. We have about 9 minutes before the hour. So I'm happy to answer anything that's come up for you. If you guys want to either come off mute, or if you want to put them in the chat, I mean, maybe that would be more organized, but I'm happy to do whatever feels good for you guys.
Maybe you can use the raise the hand
Oh, that
emoji,
sounds good.
ladies. Yeah, so that we can see. I'm a more visual person. So like you
Perfect.
can raise your hand and then Rachel can take your questions if you have any. Okay, Val has a question.
Amazing. All right, go ahead, Val.
Hello. I just
Hi.
have a question. So how do you deal with anxiety? Because it's not that I want to be like stressed out. It's not that I want to, like, if it were for me, I wish anxiety would have never happened, you know? But how do I deal with that? It's something that I can't really control. I have tried multiple things, and sometimes it's just, and that really stresses me out because I start thinking about my health. I start thinking about what's stressing me out. Is it work? Like it just becomes a lot for me. So what do you think about that?
Totally. So my first question is, I'd love to hear what your anxiety is, because I think that anxiety is a very, very interesting word. I know that because I'm a girly who has struggled with anxiety. So I feel like when I would tell people, oh yeah, I have anxiety, they'd be like, oh, like, so do I. But then the version that they described was so different. And so I just feel like that word is very, very nuanced. So I'd love to hear, like, what are your symptoms? What does it feel like? Just a little bit more specific, if you don't mind.
Yes, of course. So when I get anxiety, I feel, and I totally agree with you too, because a lot of people just throw the word around
Yeah.
and they'll just be like, yeah, I have anxiety. But in my head, I'm just like, but not really, because
Right.
Anxiety is so much worse than that. Like it's, my heart starts beating really fast.
Okay.
I lay down at night and I feel like my heart's pumping and it's like taking like a long like pump,
Mhm.
And then I feel like I become like really hot, like heat in my chest.
Mhm.
And then I feel like I have nowhere to run. Like I feel like I just want to fall asleep and ignore all these feelings, but it's not, it doesn't happen because I feel my heart pumping really bad.
Mhm.
And but that's just kind of like what I experience. And I can't eat, I'm nauseous, my stomach hurts.
Mhm.
And then I get really scared that it becomes like a panic attack.
Mhm.
Because there's a difference between having anxiety and then having a panic attack.
Yes. Okay. I completely understand. I have had both. So I couldn't understand more what you're going through. First thing I want to say, thank you for your vulnerability and sharing this with this community and me. And also I'm so sorry that you're navigating this. Like I said, I've gone through that before and it's very scary. 'Cause it feels like you're like dying.
Yeah.
Even when you know that you're not. So I'm going to give you some tactical tools, and then I'm also going to give you some more long-term tools. The long-term tools are going to mostly be in the email that I sent to you guys, which will be a follow-up email sometime in the next few days, which will have a list of like, hey, these are supplements I recommend. These are the foods I recommend. These are the things I recommend to make sure that you are taking care of your feminine body, just some cornerstones. That will be really essential to making sure that, your bases are covered. However, when it comes to it actually happening in your body, the things that I have done, the things that have helped me are tapping. So bilateral tapping. So I just go like this. Can you see me? Yeah, you can see me. So bilateral tapping is really going to help calm your nervous system and help your brain to actually process whatever subconsciously is coming up for you. So that you're like, okay, this is safe. I'm safe in my body. I also really recommend Hertz music. So 528 Hertz music. I'll pop it in the chat. Can be really healing. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with sound frequency, but it can really help with anxiety in particular. It's really helped me. Third thing, putting your feet above your head. So if you can just put your feet up the wall, makes a huge difference. And then the last one is making sure you're getting enough potassium and sodium. So something as simple as incorporating electrolytes in your day to day will really help, especially because your main symptom was related to your heart. And when we are having that like racing heart, a lot of the times our sodium potassium pumps can be very involved in that. So I know that was a bunch of like random tips, but those are things that help me a lot. If you're having more severe anxiety too, grabbing an ice cube, a cold beverage, anything icy, and putting it right here is going to stimulate your vagus nerve, which can also help you calm down like really quickly. Sometimes like at social events, I'll get anxiety, just like social anxiety. And I'll grab like a cold drink or something from, like those group things, and I'll put it right here and just like, I'm probably not even going to drink it. Probably just going to overheat it with my body. But it makes a big difference. So if you're in a social situation, you're like, oh, I don't want to look crazy bilateral tapping right now. That one can be a really simple one. So hopefully those are some simple tips that can help you a lot. But like I said, I get it.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. It's really hard because sometimes I feel like I'll go to work and the night before I had anxiety, like Monday and Tuesday I had really bad anxiety, and I was awake until like 3 a.m. because my body was just like I was trying to go to sleep and then I would just freak out and I would get up and I would be like, oh my gosh, like please, I just want this to be done.
Yeah.
And the next day I'll go to work and I'll be like, nobody knows, nobody understands. And I still kind of feel it in my chest,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I completely get it.
Yeah, it's truly the worst. And I understand 100% how you say that. People just say that they have anxiety, and sometimes I'm just like, well, yeah. You have
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. I experienced that same thing. I remember telling someone and they were like, yeah, like I get anxious when my house is messy. I'm like, you don't feel like we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, I think I need to go to the hospital.
Yeah, no, I get it. I totally understand. Hopefully those things will help you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Ray, there's a question in the chat. Will you please share some boundaries you have for yourself?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. So I would say, I mean, I could look at really any aspect of life, with business in particular, like making sure that I'm not working past 5. That's something that has been challenging for me at times, especially when you are your business and your business is everywhere. Like I have my office in my living room. I don't have like an office space. So I have to be really strict with my boundaries with my phone, with me, with my body, with my energy. So never working on the weekends, making sure I don't work after 5. I also take Mondays off. So there's certain things that are very, very clear for me in my business that I learned the hard way by overextending myself and then being like, okay, wait, that doesn't work. I guess there's a lot of boundaries with business, honestly. I don't take any client calls before noon. My mornings are for me. Certain things like that, things that work for me. Also very much in devotion to my joy. So every single day, even if that's like 10 minutes, I'm going to do something that's going to cultivate joy for me, which, like I said, is a little different for everyone. So it's really important to figure out what your authenticity is, and what's true for you. But for me, that can look like reading a fantasy novel, going to the beach. It's summer here, so I like to go to the river and take a little dip, going on a walk, leaving my phone at home. But when I think about these joyful activities, they're not me zoning out. That's very, very different. It's me actually cultivating my joy. Um, so those are a few examples. Hopefully that's really helpful. I feel like also, like as far as wellness goes, making sure that I have meals. Like we all have this funny part of ourselves that is like this child that kind of like tries to be naughty, that's like, I'm just gonna skip this and see what happens. And then we don't feel good. So kind of being your own adult, like your own inner parent is going to really help. And I think when I think about boundaries, that's kind of what I think about is this like loving parent that's like, hey, I love you. Time for breakfast. And with all the other things as well, like, hey, I love you. It's like time for you to go on a walk. Like we cannot work anymore. So hopefully that's helpful and answers a little bit of your question. Benevolent.
Love that. Yeah. And for just to add to that, for the moms here, because I know like especially if you have kids under 7, you're like, that doesn't exist for me.
Yeah.
But that's where like what you were saying about like being an adult internally, it's a requirement. Like it's like for those of you who have young kids and you've made like signed a contract with your own depletion, like I like to say, like I'm like break the contract,
Yeah.
right? This is why like Ray earlier was talking about like the inner frame, right? What that is for a biological female. And when I say biological female, I mean like motherhood. You are a female in that moment, but you are going to have some male hormones. You are going to have some of those things because you're territorial over your children. And so you exist in this paradox. So you absolutely do have to take sips of self-care, right? Benevolent boundaries. Tell your husband, like, I've reached, I every so often, or you can tell him the day, like, I need to have an hour to get my nails done or to get my hair done or whatever. It is your responsibility. And even if you feel it's so vulnerable to ask for that, that vulnerability is already, Ray flashed a table earlier, but that is already like your internal feminine system requiring you to get what you need because a feminine woman, not a masculine woman, a feminine woman is in relationship with what she needs. So very, very nuanced and paradoxical aspect of our nature, especially for mothers there. But it has to be said. Yeah. And yeah, I think we've had all the questions come in. Rachel, is there anything you want to say to kind of close the energy here for today? Which thank you so much for coming in for all the ladies. So
Yes. Oh
happy to
my gosh,
have
it's
you.
been such a pleasure. I do want to thank everyone for being so active in the chat. I can't tell you how much that means to me. So thank you for being here, for making a priority to come live. I appreciate all of your energy, and it's truly such a joy to be here. So I'm praying that this
Yes.
serves you. And like I said, I'd love to have you guys in Vitality or in any sort of asset working with me. So feel free to reach out if you're like, yes, this is for me. Like this is calling me. Where do I start? If you have any questions at all, I am completely open door. So just such a pleasure to be here. Good to meet so many new faces. And thank you so much, Martine.
Yes, thank you, Rachel. And okay, so ladies, the details for Vitality will be email. I think the
Mhm.
email probably already went out.
Yeah.
Okay, and for the next 24 hours, just stay tuned for the replay.
Mhm.
Rachel is also such a resource over on Instagram if you are not yet following her. So check out her free resources. DM her for the cyclical movement class, which I think a lot of women found very interesting, Rachel.
Cool. Okay.
Also, I want to just like remind everybody that hormones, okay, um, you live with them. They are part of your existence. And so to ignore them would be to ignore self. So being in right relationship with your femininity, with your femaleness includes being responsible for these hormones and the emotions that come along with them. So these are hints from our body to look inward. So thank you, Rachel, for all you do, for your mission and your ministry, and how you serve women. For everybody here, God bless you. Make sure that after this call, you do something yummy and juicy and probably have something to eat.
Yes, thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the day.